Hello, everyone. Welcome back. My name is Arna Sahu, host of Arna's News, where on this podcast channel, I aim to eliminate the gender gap in the STEM fields by featuring inspiring female professionals and highlighting their stories and accomplishments to further encourage girls. Today, on episode 61,
I would have asked myself, right? What else is out there? Number one. Other than those two careers that we were told that's the only thing to do. And I also would say, how could I have connected what I was learning to the big picture, as we talked about, right? For me, it was all like textbook, learn, regurgitate, get good grades, move on. But I would say even from a younger age, I would have encouraged myself to say, how can I connect what I'm learning to something else, something slightly bigger than that?
Today, on episode 61, I'm pleased to announce our guest, Kavitha Veluswamy. As a senior vice president of engineering at robust.ai, she has more than a decade of experience in building and leading engineering teams working on Amazon's Echo, Bossa Nova's autonomous robot, Cisco's very first telepresence system, NVIDIA's computer vision libraries, and Leah's Inc.'s 3D light field display products. At robust.ai, she is combining AI, robotics, and human-centered design to make robots broadly useful, effortless to adopt, and delightful to use. So thank you so much, Kavitha, for being here today. Before we dive into the questions, would you like to introduce yourself?
Thank you so much for the lovely introduction, Arna. Let me start by saying I am so impressed with what you're doing at such a young age to bridge the gender gap in STEM. So kudos to you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I love it.
Yeah. And if I have to introduce myself, I would say that I am a technology leader who is passionate about building and shipping products.
I love that. And my question for you, my very first one, is tell us a bit about your career path.
Arna, I have had a very interesting career path, I would say, that spans over 20 years. And I have worked on many interesting technology areas. My PhD was on nonlinear dynamics and chaos theory, and application of that to brain signal compression. That's where I started, right? Now, the next phase, or I would say the first phase of my career, was focused on audio technologies, starting with Motorola, which was my first job, where I worked on audio compression using what is called psychoacoustics. How does the brain perceive sound and noise, and how can we use that to compress audio signals? A very interesting field. And then I continued my journey on the audio technologies to a startup, which is called SignalWorks, that ultimately got acquired into Cisco Systems. And I worked on different parts of this audio technology. There I got to work on how do you remove noise from audio? How do you remove echo from audio? How do you want to listen to audio coming from only one direction, etc.? Right. In that journey, while at Cisco, I also got to work and ship Cisco's $300,000 flagship video conferencing system called Telepresence, where you feel like everyone in the meeting is in the same room with you. It's a great product. And then I moved on to Amazon Lab 126. And I can say three things there, right? One, I started my management journey there. And two, I continued my audio journey, where I got to work on Amazon's Echo, Alexa, from the very beginning, when it was just an idea, to building and shipping that. And, I got the opportunity to write the white paper, which we call at the time Farfield white paper, that defined how the device should be. And I actually got a chance to present it to Jeff Bezos. That was my first white paper presentation to Jeff as well. And I would say the third thing at Amazon is that I got introduced to a new technology called computer vision, right? Processing 2D and 3D camera data and doing cool things with it. including detecting and tracking objects of interest around with the camera feed, right? How do you track skeletal parts of your body? Understanding human activities, gestures, etc. So those, I got introduced to the computer vision, and I kind of carried that into my next job at NVIDIA, right? It was completely on computer vision and deep learning technology for autonomous entities such as drones or self-driving vehicles, etc. And as part of NVIDIA, I got to ship computer vision libraries. Okay. And then I got introduced to robotics, when I started my journey at Boston Robotics, which was a startup. And I started there with a perception on deep learning as applied to robotics. For example, the robot has different sensors, right? And how, using those sensor inputs, how do you perceive the world around the robot? For example, how do you tease out business value from what the robot sees? How do you say there's an obstacle on the path of the robot for the robot to navigate, etc.? Right? It's a very interesting technology. And as part of that, I also got to build and deploy robots to hundreds of Walmart stores. So it was a great journey there. And then I moved on to like apps in the cloud as part of an annotation services company called iMerit, right? And then I got to work on light field display technology at a company called Leia. It's a really cool technology. So you have a 2D, any kind of 2D device, you can kind of perceive 3D in it. And how do you do it, right? You have the 3D world, you kind of take slices of the 3D world, right? And then depending on where you see on the screen, you project different slices of the world so that you kind of have a perception that you're seeing a 3D world, right? That is my journey at Leia. And then I'm back to robotics now, working with one of the greatest roboticists of our times, Rodney Brooks. So Anna, I want to say to the kids, right? Learn your basics, school, college, and there are so many interesting things to work on as you start your career journey.
I absolutely love that career progression. I mean, the fact that you're able to talk to Jeff Bezos is mind-blowing. Like when you said that, I mean, I was really shocked. My jaw basically dropped. So I love that so much. And, all the things that you've done is super cool. And I loved listening to it.
Thank you, Arna.
So my question for you is, what advice would you give someone wanting to pursue a career similar to yours? And do you have any tips to succeed?
Great question, Arna. So let me say three things here. Okay. The first one is going to be always stay connected to the big picture. Doesn't matter what stage of your career you are. You can be a student, you can be early in your career or late in your career. I would say always stay connected to the big picture. For example, in the tech world. So don't just look at what you're working on, what your team is working on, but ask, why am I doing this? How is this connected to the whole product? What are my peers working on? How does that connect to what I'm doing, right? How does it connect to the company's objective or the vision? What does success mean for this product? And how are you going to contribute towards that, etc.? So, kind of connecting everything to the big picture. And I would also say that, for leaders who kind of grow in your management ladder, also figure out ways or processes in which you can help your team or teams see the big picture, right? I actually have seen that once you do that, when people feel part of the big picture, they feel motivated and great things come out of that. So again, Arna, I would also say that, you're doing this broadcast, the podcast, right? But again, it is connected to the bigger objective, which is bridging the gender gap in STEM fields, right? So I would say that the first point is going to be always stay connected to the big picture, right? And the second thing would be that look or seek out mentors. Mentors play a very important role in your growth. For example, when I started my management journey at Amazon, Lab 126, I was so fortunate to have direct and indirect mentors that I learned so much from, right? Indirect meaning you observe and learn from them. And I still reach out to my mentors if I need advice on something, right? My mentors help me figuring out how to manage down, sideways, manage up. There's so many challenging situations you'll encounter. How can you deal with that? Resolving conflicts, and also pointing out things that I didn't even know I needed to improve, right? So I would say definitely find mentors and also a really good support system around you. Okay. And the third thing I would say, again, Arna, this may not be applicable to everyone. It may be applicable only to a subset of people. But I would say that, don't be afraid to speak your mind. Don't be afraid to ask questions in any forum. Learn to be assertive, um, uh, especially if you're starting your career in a management thing. Just learn to do all these things, even otherwise, right? For me, Arna, when given the background that I grew up in, right, it did not come naturally to me. Did not. I used to care about what others think. Oh, how will they take it? I would try to put across my ideas very gently, right? The thing is that you're always going to have someone who's not going to be happy with what you do or what you say, and no one is going to agree with you 100% all the time, right? So we have to learn to kind of surpass that hurdle, right? For me, though, the aha moment came, that kind of everything changed for me was, I still remember that today. This was, again, about 10 plus years back at Amazon, early days of my management journey. I was in a meeting. This is for the Amazon Echo device. We were building that. And this was a meeting to look at different industrial designs, right? How should this thing look like? And I had some asks for where I wanted the microphones and speakers to be placed. Because my team works on audio side of it. Now, I was trying to put it across as, it'll be great if we can have it here or there, and I was just mildly trying to put it, not directly at all. Right after the meeting, my manager came and said, Kavitha, what are you doing? If you want to ask something, just ask. And for me, that was the moment where it's like, yeah, what am I doing? Right? If I want to ask something, I should be just able to ask directly. I don't have to put it subtly across. So for me, right, again, I want to connect this also to the mentor thing that I told you about. I didn't see it, right? I didn't see I had to do it, but it's someone else, my mentor, saw and then helped me realize it, that I had to change that. So I would say, now if you look at me, I'm assertive. I'm not afraid to speak my mind in any situation. I'm not afraid to ask questions in any forum, but it did not come naturally to me, and I had to learn. So I would also say that, especially to girls out there, try to learn to be assertive, right? And if I have to summarize this, Anna, I would say that stay connected to the big picture. Mentors. And I would say learn to be assertive and learn to speak your mind.
Absolutely. Like, a lot of things are really amazing that you just said there, but, learn to focus on the big picture, build that support system and find those mentors, and really just become assertive and try not to sugarcoat things, because that's what I do. Whenever I have to say something brutally honest to someone on text, I add in like a lot of extra characters or extra emojis and try to sugarcoat the thing. But honestly, just kind of ignore that. Just focus on the point, because if you sugarcoat things, people won't understand what you're actually trying to say. So it can be misinterpreted, and just focus on the big picture and figure out how things lead to others, because in the end, whether you are in your professional journey or personal, everything's just going to connect. So connect those dots and you'll slowly get the big picture.
Exactly. And I'm saying, right, it may not come naturally to some people. And it may even look awkward. You will think, oh my God, I said this. What will others think? But you do it one time, you do it the second time, but third time you're out. You're like, I'm good. It's not going to strike you at all. But it takes, for some people like me, it takes practice. But you can get there.
Yes, practice makes perfect.
Yeah.
And my question for you is, what is a common myth about your profession that you want to debunk?
It's a great question, Arnam. Let me answer this question with an example from my journey. Okay. See, there are certain things that are critical for a job function, right? You need to strengthen that for sure. Now, when I started my management journey, right? There are things I knew that are important, but there is one thing that I thought was important to be a great manager. That's absolutely not right, and that is, you should not care so much about people, and it may make you look weak. And that's something that I thought about. Looking back now, it's like, why did I think of it that way? But that thing doesn't hold any merit at all. Um, the thing is that I care about people, period. Right? One of the reasons I like what I do is that I can make a positive impact on people and their career growth. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm ruthless in holding people accountable for their business deliverables. And I always put success of business as my number one priority. But I also make sure that people in my R have a healthy work culture, right? A culture in which they can thrive, they feel appreciated, provide them a platform to grow. And also, it gives me great joy in identifying talents in people that they don't see themselves, and kind of nurture that and then grow them, right? Now I know there's a term for this, which is empathetic leader, but at that time I didn't know. Yes, I'm an empathetic leader. Um, but I also feel like that's my superpower, right? To balance both business success and people. So what I want to say is that embrace who you are, embrace your uniqueness, and don't ever let that go.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like as a student myself, I have a good perspective on this because when you're filled with like, when you're in a room filled with a bunch of other people, you kind of mold yourself to be like kind of just like them and you take away your uniqueness, you let it go. When in reality, that should be the thing you latch yourself onto instead of just molding yourself into shoes that are just like everyone else. And, be assertive, be that person you want to be. Don't let go of that uniqueness, that weirdness, whatever it may be that makes you different from the people around you.
Yes, exactly, Arna. Yep. Embrace that uniqueness. It gives
Absolutely.
you joy, right? If you let that go, then you won't feel that joy. So I would say just don't let that go. Yeah.
Yeah, and like a lot of people don't think this, but that joy actually comes from being different because it's like a lot of cool things can come with those experiences you make. Like myself, I'm kind of weird, but when I moved schools, I tried to be really I tried to shield that because I didn't want to be labeled as someone who's weird, but honestly, that weirdness kind of gives me a lot of joy in my daily life. So don't get rid of something that makes you different.
Exactly. Yep.
And my question for you is if you could step into my shoes or a younger self, what would you have asked yourself that I didn't?
Okay. I grew up in India, right? We were told that you have to get good grades to succeed in life, right? And so my whole focus was on getting great grades, studying what is in the textbook, right? Um, so and then the other thing that I have, as I was growing up, was told is that two careers which are going to make you successful, either a doctor or an engineer, right? So if I had to step into go back to my earlier days, I would I would have asked myself, right, what else is out there? Number one, other than those two careers that we were told that that's the only thing to do. And I also would say, how could I have connected what I was learning to the big picture, as we talked about, right? For me, it was all like textbook, learn, regurgitate, get good grades, move on. But I would say, even from a younger age, I would have encouraged myself to say, how can I connect what I'm learning to something else, something slightly bigger than that? So those are the two things that I would have asked myself.
I love that because I'm also Indian myself, but I've been born in like the Bay Area, so I don't have like the whole Indian type of, livelihood culture of studying. But I know that when you're young and you're a student, you're kind of pressured or you're really gullible into thinking that there are only two types of things you can do, either be a doctor or an engineer, but kind of pushing yourself to figure out what are the other careers that I can do, what are the other things outside of what people are talking about that may suit me? Because honestly, you know, you might not want to be a doctor or an engineer, and your whole life path in front of you, if you choose one of those two options, will be miserable. And you're just going to be living a pretty miserable life. So, figuring out those options early when you can and trying to build that encouragement alongside will really help you. And the second thing I really love, because try to connect the things that you learn in school to the big picture. Like, honestly, what we learn in school is just like a math formula, and that's it. You just have to memorize it, answer it on the test, and boom, you get your grade. But soon, everything in math kind of builds upon itself. So if you try to connect this to the big picture, like, oh, this is relevant to trigonometry, and that's going to help me if I want to go into construction because that's going to help me with, the math side of things. Trying to figure those dots and try to figuring out how it can help me in the real world or something that I can do like later in the future really helps you honestly be more encouraged into being into that subject as well.
Exactly. Yep.
And my question for you is, what are the best resources / books that have helped you find your career path?
Um, Instead of saying what helped me find my career path, because I kind of found it by accident, we can talk about that. But I want to talk about what helped me in my career, right? I would say again, mentors, absolutely, right? Great resources. Mentors help you a lot. That mentors have helped me a lot in my career path as a manager, as a leader. And I also say that as you grow, you can always look for executive coaches as well, but always find someone who's kind of aligned with your wavelength and what you're looking for, etc. As far as books, early in my career, I absolutely loved and I could relate to Andy Grove's High Output Management. Right. The thing is that I read the book after I started my management journey, and as I was reading through it, I was absolutely, it's like I could relate to everything he was saying, and I was like, yeah, I'm doing this. I thought, okay, I'm doing something right in my career, right? Also, how can you structure your organization? Some of the things that you have to do, some of the things that I thought I could do later as I grow my teams, etc. So I would encourage folks to, if you're taking up management a path, Andy Grove's High Output Management is a great book, a great resource to have. And one book I read recently, events for folks and who are looking at leadership roles in startup world, is a book called The Hard Thing About Hard Things by Ben Horowitz. Okay. And another resource I would say, Arna, again, this is not for later in your career, if you're exploring some board of director positions, a very good book as an intro book, I would say, called How Boards Work by Dambisa Moyo. Again, this one I read after I started my board journey, so I could absolutely relate to everything that she was saying there. These some resources.
I love that. Thank you so much. I'm definitely going to check them out. And I feel like they really relate on the journey that I want to go to. So I will definitely do a read. So thank you.
Welcome, Arna.
And my question for you is, what do you think is a vital factor that shaped your career? What was your life before learning it? And what was your life after learning it?
I would say, hands down, that the pivotal point came when I knew I actually like the managerial path, right? Till that point, I didn't know I would like it that much, or I would do a great job at that. See, I am able to make a tremendous impact on my company's success. And I'm also able to make a tremendous impact on people and their career, right? I always thought my path is going to be in a principal, as a technical principal path. And I never looked at management as a path for me. But, someone took a chance, right? As I started my journey at Amazon, Lab 126, someone actually recognized that I could do it, and then they gave me a chance to lead a team. Otherwise, I was very dubious. It's like, can I do it? Will I do a great job at it? I was not sure if I would like it. I had so many questions. But the thing is that was a turning point. It's like, I love it. And I don't think I love it, says that. And then I actually do a great job with it. As I told you, that the impact I can make for the company and also on people, right? So I would advise others to please be open to opportunities that you may not think is aligned with where you want to go, right? So I would say please be open. um, yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, it kind of goes back to being assertive and kind of just go into other opportunities that might not resonate with you, but originally, but they might actually kickstart something that could really help you in your journey. I mean, for me, I'm a really stubborn person. So originally, I never really wanted to get into STEM because I thought it was super boring. And seeing my dad just get code all the time, I thought it was incredibly boring. So I actually veered off of the path from STEM, and it was like that for quite a while until I kind of got into a few opportunities here and there at my school. And yeah, here we are at Arnis News.
Yep. The thing is that sometimes you may not see it, right? And someone else, like for me, I do it now. It's like I actually identify these talents in people, and they may not know they're going to be great at it, but I can see it. If I see it, then I actually nurture them. And what is the worst that could happen, right? Sure, you may not like it. You may suck at it. If you suck at it, of course, there are ways in which you can improve. But if you really don't like it, you can always go back to what gave you joy or what you're good at. But I'm saying eh, earlier in the career or even late in the career, just be open to opportunities, to say.
Yeah, and as a reminder, just for people who are listening to this, once someone identifies that you have the potential to do something, when you progress into that career journey, do the same for other people who are younger, because it's just an amazing thing to do, and you could serve as a mentor for them. All right, and because we have some additional time, my question for you is, what's one thing you wish you had known when you began your career path?
I'm going to circle back to the same thing, Arna. Um, the initial almost 10 years, I was an individual contributor. I learned a lot. There's no regrets at all. Um, but if I had known that I would actually love the management leadership path, um, yeah, I think I would have I could have made more impact. But again, as I told you, there are no regrets.
Absolutely. And my last question for you is, how do you continue to learn in order to stay on top of things within your role?
For me, again, learning is going to be a never-ending journey. Right? For me, it was more of learning on the job on relevant technologies. As we talked about, there are so many different technologies I worked on, right? For example, audio, speech, computer vision, deep learning, and even within those umbrella, there are so many different things. I worked on platform, I worked on product. So it was for me again robotics, the light feed technology. So I actually learned a lot on the job as needed. I actually learned a lot on the job. Some of the topics I have breadth, and some of the topics I have depth. But again, I seek out relevant papers, the material, and I learn on the job. So that's kind of how I've been keeping up with what's happening. And I also supplement that with books related to leadership. And there are actually really good courses offered by Coursera and others, and other, Wharton, MIT, Stanford, etc., related to the career, where you want to go. And I have taken a few of them as well. So it's a
Absolutely.
never-ending journey. Yeah, just learn on the job.
I love that. I mean, you kind of learn everywhere you are. I mean, with all the things that you're doing in your career, I mean, of course, you would learn so much with, as technology emerges, so many cool things are happening. So, I mean, I love what you've been doing. And before we end off, do you have any last words to the audience?
I actually would like to tell everyone who's listening to this that be fearless. Be fearless. Okay. And Arna, my best wishes to you on continuing the journey. And I have no doubt in my mind that you will do great things.
Thank you so much. And I hope you have the best rest of your day.
Thank you, Arna. You too.
And here are my 3 cents on this episode with Kavitha. 1. The importance of connecting to the big picture. She emphasizes the significance of understanding how your work fits into the larger project and the organization's vision. This perspective can help you contribute more effectively and make meaningful contributions to the overall goals. 2. Mentorship and learning from others. Kavitha highlights the value of seeking out mentors who can provide both indirect guidance through observation and direct advice. Mentors can help you manage your time, navigate conflicts, and improve areas you might not be aware of. Surrounding yourself with a strong support system can significantly aid your career growth. And 3. Authentic leadership. She challenges the myth that effective leadership requires being rude or aggressive. She suggests that embracing your unique qualities and staying true to yourself can lead to successful leadership. Being assertive and speaking your mind while respecting differing opinions is a more effective approach. Thus, that concludes the episode for this week. If you want to know more about how I relate to these amazing topics, then stay tuned for upcoming episodes. A free way to support this show is by leaving it a 5-star rating and a review on the player you are listening to. Let me know what you enjoy about this podcast, as it's a chance to tell me what you love about the show, and it helps others discover it too. Once again, thank you for finding me, and I hope we stay in touch with each other. Dito, you're listening to Arna Sahu, the host of Arna's News. Toodles!